Good morning. This is Norma Cowie for our usual Wednesday Norma Talks. What you may not realize is that very often I spend a little bit of time wondering what I'm going to talk about at any particular day because there is every week a theme of some sort emerges. In the last couple of days, watching some movies, listening to people, clients, etc., I began to realize that very often we need strength. Situations happen. In the last 2 weeks, two people that I knew have passed on. One unexpectedly, one had been sick for some time, and we were all hoping and praying that she would was cancer, so that she would beat it, but didn't. So there was a lot of thoughts when somebody that you know, and especially one of the people I really cared about as a person in this world, how do you handle that? What do you do? How do you have the strength? People who are close, neither of the people who passed am I particularly close to. And certainly, and one of them I didn't, was just my next door neighbor, and I didn't know him very well at all. Now, so as usual, when things get really uncertain, I go to my tarot. So one of the things that I was thinking about, and I'll just show the symbol here, which is strength. Where do we get our strength? Where do we get our faith? And the symbology within this symbol, I absolutely love. I'm just going to go over that for you. Here's the person that has the lion being always, he wants to face a big lion. And that she has subdued it because it's got its tail between its legs. But she has a beautiful, what would you call it, little rope, I guess, of greenery and red roses. Roses are desire. Red roses are the desire that we have. But look what she has above her head, the infinity sign. And now I'll just put that down because I'm going to talk about it. Now, how do we get our strength? If we have a belief, if we have a faith, if we have an understanding that there is a power, and that power is around us, that power is there for us, then when situations come up that have to be handled, that have to be dealt with, we have a place that we can go to give us that strength, to give us that inner power to deal and to handle whatever it is that you have to handle. And I began to think of the other symbology within the tarot that talked about carrying. What do we carry? Now, one of the first ones that popped up in my mind was this one, which is, I'm not going to go over too much of the symbolism, but it's the worry card. It's where our mind is just so full of whatever else is going on. We have absolutely no space to think about anything. You'll notice that the man is, excuse me, quite strong in his back. And so consequently, he's having to burn it. There's nothing here to bring in whatever. And actually, he's getting near the end of the journey, whatever it is. And he can't even see that because his mind is so full, just so full. And I'm sure most of us know and remember when we have that, where it's almost like we're addicted to a thought that goes on and on and on until wherever we look, there it is. And so that was the first symbol that came to my mind. The second symbol that came to my mind before I even looked, I was just thinking about what is it we carry? And this is the second thing that we carry a lot of. This is guilt, regret, things that we have done that we wish we didn't do. And actually, if you just look at the symbolism, he's looking back, but he's carrying all these swords. Swords are the problems and the issues that we have. Both of these are mentally, both of these that we've looked at are mentally part of us. One is the worry and one is the carrying of the old. Worry is always about what's coming. We don't worry about what's gone. We already know what that is. We carry that with guilt, with regret, and maybe other emotions and feelings that we might have. But when we look ahead, that's when we worry and we can't see, because that thought becomes more and more and more. And if we do not reach out for that strength to have clarity, to have an awareness, then it just seems that, okay, we've got this burden to be able to deal with or work with, but we lose sight of whatever else is around. Now, there's a couple of other symbols that talk about carrying, that actually carry symbols. There's one that's they're rejoicing, but I didn't put that in this one. This is the conflicts. Now, there's a lot of symbolism here, which I at this point wasn't going to go into, but this man here is carrying three symbols, and that in the tarot is the three of swords, which is hurt and pain, and absolutely no light at all. But he's also got two here because this is number 7. So he's got, oh, no, I mean, sorry, he's number 5. That was wrong. It's not 7, it's 5. He's carrying this, but number 2 is actually this symbol, and she is carrying it, is where we're not looking at her emotions. We're not wanting to deal with anything because she's blindfolded. She's got her arms crossed, doesn't let anything in, and the swords are always problems. And if you look at the water behind her, it's very rough with rocks in it. So here we have number 5 carrying the 3, which is disappointment, and even those are separated a bit, and 2 more on the ground. You can, the symbolism where and how we carry things and within the tarot is one of the things I love, is because when I'm reading is, where does my eye go? Where is it drawn? What is it going, and what's it for? And what ends up happening is that we end up at this 10 of swords. He's not carrying them, he's killed by them. So when we over worry, when we over carry guilt and regret, when we don't want to deal with anything because emotionally it's hurtful and painful, we go into conflict. When we go into conflict and without resolving, this is where we end up. It's the end of the situation. End of the situation, yes, but it's not a very nice ending. So the answer is this. We need to learn how to deal, cope, work with that beautiful, wonderful energy of divine love, universal love force, as I call it. Having faith. Faith is not an easy thing. You know, people over the years have been saying, have faith, have faith. But unless you build up a faith, to have instantaneous faith, and I know in the Christian things they do go through a process where all of a sudden it's all there, and which they usually call being born again, because they all of a sudden get the light coming in really strong. But it usually isn't out of nowhere. It usually is that you work towards it, and there it is. Similar to what I did years ago, trying to figure out what God was. It's like having strength to handle the situations that come up into your life that you have no real awareness of what to do with or how to handle it. How do you handle the death of a loved one? How do you cope and handle situations in life when all of a sudden you lose your job because you won't comply here or there? What do you do when you have other situations happening, or you've got lots of kids and all of a sudden you can't send them to school? What are you supposed to do? And you've got limited resources. Like, there's 110 things that come at us where, what do? We have choices. If we act in any way, like we've already looked at, not counting the faith and the trust here, but if we worry, if we take it on and think, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? It beats us down as people. If we begin to lose sight of what life can be or where we can go and what we can do, it becomes like our 10 of swords here, overwhelming. We have nowhere to go, what to do, we don't know. And so consequently, this is where people of faith, real faith, because what I found, a lot of people ran into fear rather than faith in the last couple of years, thinking that they had faith, but to me, it was all like a lot of fear. We've got to know that that energy is there for us to utilize to give us clarity in our minds, to give us relief in our hearts, to remind us that life is a continuum. There's not a beginning or an end. When I began to really realize that the soul itself, our own individual souls, were in a way eternal, which they talk about, but that understanding, besides just being an intellectual thing up here, but becoming a part, to realize that over the series of time, we've had, whether it was in another planet or another a dimension of some kind, we're here now on this emotional planet. And a lot of people don't talk about how this is an emotional planet, but how come when on other planets, if you've ever visited them, or in other dimensions, they don't have that? They operate differently. How come we here on Earth have to deal with these things called emotions, which takes rationality right out of the whole thing sometimes? And then we get filled with worry. We get filled with guilt. We get not knowing what to do. We don't want to deal with anything anymore. And then everything piles up, and it's like a breakthrough sometimes when it's like starting all over again, because it happens. Life is life. And unfortunately, in my way of thinking, we're not really taught how to utilize the universal love force to really support us. I often found when I was looking at different prayer methods, it was all pleading and asking, like we're some little kid saying, Mom, may I have a cookie? And that really didn't sit right with me at the time. And when I found a prayer method that worked, where it was co-creating my world and getting the answers that I needed and wanted in an easier way, it gave me the strength. It gave me the strength to face the issues I had to face, to deal with the issues that I had to deal with, to move forward in my life. Does it mean that I was always right on? No, I went through the grief. I went through the worry. Because if I didn't go through those things, how would I understand my clients when they came to me full of anxiety? I had anxiety. I had also the need to be at, because I worked where a lot of people depended on me, actually. And I had that knowing that I could put those shows together where other people could work and be happy and make a happy environment for everybody. But I knew I didn't do it alone. I would ask for what I wanted, knowing that it would come or come into being. And when it didn't, when I didn't ask and I didn't know, okay, that was my era. Because you get a little bit big for your boots sometimes, you think, oh, well, this is how it is. But you forget you're co-creating your life. You're getting strength from an energy force that loves you beyond measure, yes, but you need to be able to implement that into your material world. You need to be able to implement that in a way that you can see the benefits and know the benefits and then be grateful. Gratitude is really a big thing. How many times in the day do you say thank you when things happen your way? How many times do you say to above the whatever energy and however you look at it, do you say thank you? How often are you grateful for the small things? I know in one of my books, I wrote a little chapter on the power of the thank you. In fact, I might have done it in two of them. And it's so powerful when you just say out to the universe, if you want to call it, out to the skies, whatever, out to you, whoever you believe in. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that into my life. Thank you for giving me that. I was sitting the other day in my chair here, just being so grateful for all the wonderful things I had in my life right now. It was just like it was just one thing after the other that I could add up. And it was such a good feeling just to be in that place of gratitude, not in the place of worry, not in the place of regret and guilt over what I did or didn't do, because we all have those. I mean, there's always something that, oh, why didn't I handle that better? Why did I do that? But it's past. You got to forgive yourself. You got to know that you're already forgiven in the bigger picture, so forgive you. And so that you deal with emotions that come up. I just had a consultation with a person the other day, and I could see very much in their head. And I made a comment that the feelings that we had in our body was just our body telling us what it thought. And be able to name the feeling, what the difference it would make. And the person was like, what? I said, well, your feelings, it's your body talking to you. And they come up and you're going to be able to name them so it feels heard. Otherwise, they push harder. And when they stop pushing harder, sometimes it's really difficult to think. And so what you do often, because I know I was there, didn't want to feel. So what happens is that you push them away, and so you think harder and harder to maintain that down. So what happens is you become out of balance. Where's the balance? There isn't any. Feelings are something that we all live with. They come up every day. Our thoughts are there all the time. Our thoughts create our basic vibration. Does it support what we want? Do you have gratitude in those thoughts? Or do you have regret? Do you look back and have only regret? Or do you look at the wins that you got? Did you look at the things that you came to understand because of some of those situations that happened? If we are living this life, it is a learning life for sure. A few people maybe don't go through too much, but I don't really think that's true. I think we all have situations where we come against things that we, and if they're in the, if eventually, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here, and then because eventually we have to come to some realization, not only about ourselves, but about life. So what is this really all about? Having strength. This is the 8th card in the tarot of the higher kind of journey. It starts off the second set of 7, as I say. It's where you've already learned the basic principles, and now you must apply them to your life. You apply those principles to the life because you're recognizing this force and energy that you can utilize, and that you work with that. And that puts you in command of many, many things. And mainly what it puts you in command of is how you're responding to the outside world, how you're responding, because you know there is something more. You know how you think is important. You know how you react to your feelings is important. You are aware that you don't have to be hamstrung by what life has brought you, that you can move out of whatever the circumstances into new circumstances. You are the dictator of your life. I always loved when a church that I used to go to, and minister used to say, you have the opportunity, and I've said this before, and some of you may have heard this. You have the opportunity of being the star, the producer, and the director of your life, or being a bit player in somebody else's. When you have the strength, when you know that there's an energy that supports you, and that you have the right to be the star, the producer, and the director of your life, you can make things change. When we look at some circumstances, it feels like, how on earth can I get through this? Or what on earth am I going to do? Take something small that you're grateful for and give thanks for that. And feel the gratitude. You got to feel it, just not words, feel it. And then watch the doors begin to open. Life is on your side. Universal love force is on your side. Are you on your side? Are you using your strength that's there for you to utilize? Are you using clarity? Are you knowing what it is you really want? Are you really going and digging deep? I know we all have that in us, and that's our life journey. But it's a wonderful journey when you live it and you come out the other end of some of these situations that come up, and you just breathe a sigh of relief, and you feel the gratitude, and you give a big thank you, because you know that next step is going to be a different step, a different way of handling, of being, and you can be at one. I think that's a good place to stop. So I want to say thank you for listening. Trust it's helpful. And I look forward to being back on Sunday, and then I'm going again on Monday for the mental mind treatments. I do need to thank you for the new subscribers. I want to thank you for that. We passed a little milestone again, and that makes me very, very grateful. And just remember, too, you can always contact me through my website, normacowie.com, and find out what's going on. If you're not on the email list, which will be coming out very shortly, because the 1st of November is coming, tell you what the specials are and what's coming up for November, through the email. I can get that with my website. Pleasure. Have a great day. Have a great week. See you Sunday.